My wife has made me rich. And when I say this, I'm not talking about just financial success. She has influenced so many other areas of my life: my ambition, my drive, my purpose, my clarity, my desire to protect and lead our family. My wife has inspired me to step into those things because of how she has showed up for me continuously throughout our relationship. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how she has done that and why women are actually emasculating their men. And I'm going to be giving you 5 secrets to inspire a man to rise into his masculinity. So, a lot of women in today's world, they find themselves in this very mothering, coaching, therapist role. She's trying to get her man motivated to maybe make more money, to communicate better, to be a better leader. And they're going about it in the way that it's very emasculating. It's very mothering. They're talking to him like a little boy, making a lot of demands, nagging him, criticizing him, pressuring him. And all of this doesn't motivate or inspire a man. Now, yes, in women's defense, there are a lot of men who are just not motivated and not willing to step up, don't want to provide, don't want to lead, don't want to protect. But there are also a lot of good men who have a natural biological instinct to lead, protect, and provide. Okay? And when a woman dials in her communication with him, she begins to inspire his masculinity instead of pushing it down. Okay? I want to remind women that are listening to this right now that you are powerful generators, okay? You have the ability to bring life into this world, and you also have ability to speak life into a man, okay? So a woman has such a powerful influence over a man, okay? If you look at every king throughout history, there was always an influential queen by his side, right? So women have forgotten this because they've shifted into this masculine, mothering, coaching role, trying to be like, you can do this. Come on, Johnny. And they're pushing him in such a masculine way that it doesn't motivate a man. What motivates a man is a woman's feminine presence. Okay. I want to share with you the story of how Melissa did this for me. And then I'm going to get into the 5 secrets of how you can actually do this with a masculine man. And once again, I want to frame this very clearly. The man has to be willing and ready to shift. If he is not, he will stay unmotivated. He will stay in his comfort. He will not grow. He will not excel. Okay? When Melissa and I first got together, I had spent about 3 or 4 years on a deep healing journey. I had moved away to California, 3,000 miles away from my home. I was living in the mountains, going into the mountains every single day, doing a lot of deep inner reflection and healing work on myself to release the childhood traumas and pain that I was carrying. Now, when Melissa and I first got together and we started talking and we started communicating, I just remember thinking to myself when I first saw her, she has such a warmth, such a radiance, such a light about her. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was just very drawn to her energy. And because I was 3,000 miles away from her at the time, we communicated through Zoom. And I was speaking to her through Zoom, and we were talking, having these amazing conversations. And we talked for 2 or 3 months before we ever even met in person. So we developed this real deep emotional bond. And then from there, I ended up moving back to my home state of New York. And this is where we began our quote unquote love story. We ended up moving in together and we started to build a relationship. And in the beginning of our relationship, it got very, very rocky. Okay. And this was because our polarity was off. Melissa had been independent and single for quite a while. And I had been in this healing phase of my life and had unknowingly gone a little bit too far into the feminine side of things, connecting to my heart, my emotions, where she had gone a little bit too far into the masculine side of things, being independent, being strong, out on her own, providing for herself. So as we came together, we started to clash because my core is masculine and her core is feminine. So we began to clash. And I remember sitting down on the couch with her talking during one of our breakups and saying, I don't know why, but I'm just not attracted to you right now. And I could not figure out why that was. And I'm sure she felt the same way about me in her defense, but I could not figure out why I was not attracted to her. And this was because our polarity was off. We were clashing. There were two masculines competing for space in the relationship, and our attraction had been influenced by this. So we ended up going through a couple different breakups, and they were short, healthy, cohesive breakups that were very needed in the beginning of our relationship to really test the structure and strength of our relationship. If you're watching this on YouTube right now and you'd like to hear more about how we healed through this and how we fixed our polarity, put it down in the comments that you'd like to hear more about fixing that, okay? Because a lot of people, they get this wrong and then they're just losing the right person in their life and they don't know how to work through that power struggle phase. So if you'd like to hear more about how to work through the power struggle in a relationship and fix that polarity in the dynamic, put a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube right now. So we went through that rocky phase for maybe the first, I'd say, year. And then about the 2-year mark, maybe 2.5 years, I'd say, I sat her down and I said to her, hey, I really want to be the main provider in this relationship. I don't want you to have to worry about any of the financial, technical, anything, okay? I want you to feel safe in your feminine energy to work at your own desire, not because the world is pressuring you to do so, which unfortunately for a lot of women, women are forced to be very masculine, to provide for themselves, to lead themselves, and they don't have a choice, right? Especially if they're a single woman and they're having to provide for their kids or whatever they're having to provide for, they don't have a choice but to step into that. And now there is a way to infuse femininity into your work, which is very important to do if you are a woman listening to this. But I wanted her to be in a space where she didn't have to work, have to worry about money, technical stuff, finances, any of this stuff. Because I believe in my core that those things push a woman to be very masculine, especially if she's not aware of how she's operating, right? So I had this conversation with her, and I never in my life had this thought. I never thought I wanted to be a provider for my wife so she didn't have to work. I never had this thought. But her energy, her femininity, it wasn't like she was coming to me being like, I want you to be the provider. I don't want to have to work. She never said those things like that, right? Her warmth, her love, her overall femininity just made me want to protect her. It was almost like I wanted to build a fence around her garden. She is the flowers in the garden. I am the fence. I wanted to provide for her. I wanted to lead and protect. I didn't want her to have to deal with the outside world of all of the technical, dreary business shit that I deal with, right? So I presented this to her, and I remember her thinking, and just the look on her face was very like, well, I don't want to give up my independence. What if we don't work out? And there was a lot of fear there, right? She had to work through a lot of that. But I said, listen, I got you. I'm going to make this work. And I'm telling you right now, when I said those words to you, it supercharged my business, my purpose, my clarity. My account started blowing up. My business started booming. It was amazing, right? Like my desire was just like, I am going to provide for you. I'm going to figure this out. I want to have an amazing life together. We were living in a 700 or 800 square foot apartment, a tiny ass little old apartment with no insulation in the walls. And it'd be the middle of winter. It'd be 40 degrees inside our apartment because it'd be so cold. The apartment was just tiny and shitty, right? I didn't want to live that life. Not that I wanted to live some big lavish life, because we ended up, building our dream ranch on farmland, doing the homesteading thing. And that really is amazing, right? Like that's what we both wanted. So I wanted to live a life of abundance with her. And she inspired me so deeply, never with her words, never mothered me, never coached me, never told me what I should do. None of this. It was just the fact of her amazing feminine energy that naturally drew it out of me to want to provide this for her. You think about like how the sperm pursues the egg and it wants to penetrate the egg wall, wants to bring life into this world. That's exactly what happened with us. From there, we went on to getting married. From there, we went on to having a kid, to now having another kid on the way, to building our dream ranch, to now doing lots of work together and having a very successful online business. This was deeply inspired by my wife's femininity. Sure, would I have drive and ambition and purpose if I wasn't with her? Yes, but would it be as meaningful? Would it be as deep? Would it be as valuable to me if I didn't have her in my life? Hell no. I attribute a majority of my success to my wife because of who she is and how she shows up in my life. She is so inspiring. She never demands, she never nags, she never criticizes me. She just believes in me. And when a woman believes in a man, that man starts to believe in himself. Because once again, a woman's influence in a man's life is so much deeper than women have forgotten. Because women are in this masculinized role, they're communicating from that place. It's a very harsh, direct, challenging, not inspiring tone of voice. You know what I'm talking about? And if you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to hear more about feminine communication, dark and light feminine communication, drop it down in the comments if you'd like to hear more about that. You can inspire a man in so many ways. And I'm going to give you these 5 secrets right now because I really want you to understand this, okay? Number 1 is you want to speak to his potential, not his failures. And I also want to highlight once again, this will only work with a man who is intrinsically masculine and motivated to be better in life. And I'm telling you right now, you may be looking at your man, if you're with a man or if you're single listening to this, you may be looking at men through a broken lens and think, oh, there's no men out there that want to provide or protect or lead. Bullshit. I have met so many men. I have coached so many men that are that, and they want to be that. It just takes the right woman to come along and activate that out of him. Okay? And when that happens, it's not going to be because you coached him. It's not going to be because you mothered him and told him what to do and said, Johnny, you be a good little boy and you go make some money over there so I can stay home and not work. That is not going to happen. Okay? If you do that, you will end up with a little beta male, if you haven't already there, who you're probably providing for. Okay? And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be the one always chasing and planning and initiating and pursuing, stop what you've been doing and listen to the words coming out of my mouth. And trust me, from a man's perspective, that we are motivated by femininity. We're not motivated by masculinity. Okay? So I want you to begin speaking to his potential. Okay? So instead of criticizing what he's not doing, inspire him into who he's becoming. Okay? You want to speak to his potential by inspiring him into who he's becoming. Okay? So for example, I see so much greatness in you. I know whatever you set in your mind to do, you will accomplish. And you say it from a more feminine tone, not like a rah-rah motivational speaker like I'm talking right now. So it sounds a little bit more like this from a woman. I see so much greatness in you. I know that in my heart, whatever you do, you will accomplish. And you just start speaking life into a man. And I'm telling you, that one shift right there alone, watch out. Because the right man who hears those words from the right woman, and it just happens, right? It's like the planets align, and all of a sudden he's like, I got this. I can do this. He starts to feel like a man again, right? Where a lot of times what women do is they demand, they criticize, they beat them down, and you don't want to do that with a man, because I'm going to tell you something about men. They're a lot more sensitive than they let on, even if they're like this stoic, like numb, I don't feel shit. He's holding on to a lot. He's dealing with a lot. And when you put demands on him or you criticize him, it doesn't do him any good. Okay? He's already doing that to himself all day long, fighting battles in his mind. Number 2, be his peace, not his pressure. Be his peace, not his pressure. I could sing a whole song on this shit. Okay? Let me tell you something. Men take action for the woman who makes them feel powerful, okay? Not for the one who makes him feel inadequate. You do not want to make a man feel inadequate, like he's never good enough no matter what he does. He's always getting it wrong. Men take action for the woman who makes him feel powerful, for the woman that believes in him, right? So a woman's softness and emotional safety is what makes a man want to give her the world. Okay. So if you've been approaching it from the place of rigidness, demands, criticism, not believing in men, if you're single, like there's no good men out there, you're coming from that very like wounded place, you got to shift that. Okay. And when you shift that and you start connecting more to your femininity, more to your softness, you will either attract a man who wants to give you the world and truly does, not genuinely, or you will call it out of the man that you're with. Okay. Number 3 is you want to celebrate his wins, big or small. And I love when Melissa does this with me. She does such a damn good job of this. She often reminds me of like how far I've come and what I've accomplished, and really just to really celebrate what I've done. Okay. She does that for me. So men are reward driven. Okay. So they want to win for their woman. If you are a priority in his life and you want to be a priority in his life, when you start celebrating his wins, he may just brush it off like it's not a big deal. Like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm telling you right now, when you celebrate a man's wins, it creates the reward bias in his brain. Okay. Men have a very strong reward bias. There's lots of science that prove this. When we are rewarded, we will want to do that more. Okay. So for example, maybe he hasn't been leading a lot in your relationship, and you think to yourself, well, I'd like for him to lead more. And you notice he takes a lead on something and you say, wow, it's so sexy when you lead like that. I feel so safe with you. And then you just end it right there. Don't say anything else. Just let your silence be heard, right? And he's like, really? Yeah, okay. I can do more of that. Men are so single focused. We are so simple minded that when a woman speaks to us and she doesn't over explain it and she just delivers it right from her pleasure, right from her power, it just hits us so deep in our core. So if you were single and you wanted to do this with a man and he planned a date and you say to him, that was really sexy that you planned a date and you just handled that. And you just say that. You don't say anything else. And you just let him receive that. Let him just hear your words. And he thinks to himself, well, I could do this again. I enjoyed this. This was great. And then he starts to see you as a place of pleasure, not a place of pressure. Okay. Number 4 is show appreciation for his efforts. Men biologically love to work. We love to solve problems. We love to make decisions. We love to take the lead. And once again, I want to be clear about this because I know there's going to be some women that say, well, if he's not masculine, then he won't do these things. You're right. He won't. I'm talking to the man who is masculine. And you can just tell when a man is masculine by the way he carries himself, his confidence, his tonality, his body language. There's many different ways to tell this. If you'd like to learn more about how to identify a masculine man, drop that down in the comments right now. Don't hold back. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one because that's a really big complication for a lot of women to learn about how to identify a healthy masculine man. Okay. So show appreciation for his efforts. A man who feels appreciated works harder to provide, protect, and lead. Okay. Say this with me. When a man feels appreciated, he's going to work harder to provide, protect, and lead. When he feels unappreciated, he's just going to say, it doesn't matter anyways because I'm not going to get it right. I'm just going to pull back and not do anything. Okay. So then you create a man who is distant, or you're the one who's always stepping up and taking care of everything, planning all the dates, booking the trips, booking the rental cars, booking the Airbnbs, booking the hotels, taking care of the flights. You know what I'm talking about. Take care of all the bills, take care of the kids. You end up taking care of everything. And if you don't want to be that, you have to unenroll yourself in that. And then you think, well, if I don't do it, then who's going to take care of it? Have you ever allowed space for a man to step up and take care of you? Would you be willing to trust him if he did and let go of control? Okay, so instead of saying, you never help out, try, I feel so taken care of when you handle the little things. It means a lot to me. Okay, so delivering it from your feminine energy. I feel so taken care of when you handle those little things. It means so much to me. And once again, my wife does such a great job at this. And I don't even think she knows she's doing it, but she just does it naturally. And I think she's had to work on it a lot over the years. And once again, like her communication with me, which used to be very like, yeah, but challenging, questioning, like those type of things, never was really demanding or critical, but she used to be very challenging towards me in the beginning of our relationship. which drove me nuts, has really shifted to more of an invitation. She invites me to step in. She invites me to want to be a better man. Okay. She inspires it out of me with her softness, with her warmth, with her gentleness, with her strong, healthy boundaries. But she's never harsh. She's never demanding. Okay. Number 5, which is the last one here, which is inspire him with your feminine presence, which is ultimately probably the most important thing on this list. Okay. A woman who is in her joy, her beauty, and her softness and her pleasure pulls out a man's best qualities. Okay. You want to think about masculine energy, feminine energy, like yin and yang. They complement each other, right? So a masculine man is very logical, very solution-oriented, very problem-solving, very leading, where a feminine woman is very playful, very warm, very loving, very soft, very sensual. So she is the complete opposite to him. So opposites really do attract. And if you look at the world of magnetics, positive charge attracts a negative charge, right? So when you are sensual, connected to your pleasure, mysterious, all of this playful energy moving through you, you evoke it out of a man to step in. Okay. So if you're single and you want to draw that out of a man and you become that, men will literally start falling out of the sky to date you. Okay. If you're in a relationship and you want to start drawing out more of your man's masculinity, if he has it in him, hopefully, then he will start stepping up. But if you are approaching masculine with masculine, fire with fire, not water with fire, which is the feminine, the water feminine, then you're never going to be cooling to him. You guys are always going to be in competition. You're always going to be competing, butting heads. And this is what happens a lot. And eventually what ultimately happens, what I see the most, is the woman that does this for many years is relentless. And she eventually just overpowers him and he becomes distant or even worse, emasculated. So he just becomes submissive to her because he just can't get it right. So no matter what he does, he's just like, yeah, I'll just appease her. And he becomes a little yes man. I'll do whatever you want. Well, you make the decisions. I don't want to upset you. And he becomes overly accommodating, soft, passive, beta, submissive male. And this is the most repulsive thing to a woman. Am I right, women? Am I right, ladies, right now? Am I right with what I'm saying with this shit? You're never going to be attracted to a soft little beta male who's just like, yes, I'll do whatever you want if you have a feminine core. If you have a feminine core, you want a strong man. You want a man who has gentle strength. You want a man who has emotional intelligence. You want a man who has healthy boundaries. You want a man who will step up and take the lead. You don't want some beta male who's like, yes, I'll do whatever you say. Let's just let you make the decisions. Let's just let you make the plans and pay the bills and take care of the household stuff and on and on and on. The list never ends. So that woman ends up feeling very resentful, very burned out. Okay. So what I really want to drill down here in completion of today's episode is your femininity, your softness, your pleasure, your love, your magnetism, your encouragement, your belief in a man is ultimately what inspires him to want to be a better man. Okay. So if maybe he's not making a lot of money in his job right now or in his business, but he wants to be better. You doing what I just shared with you is going to activate that in him to be better. Okay. Your femininity inspires a man into action to want to provide, lead, and protect. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I appreciate you. As always, stay open, stay loving, and stay connected to that powerful source within you.